All right, gang, today I'm talking about signature scents. Do you have a favorite signature scent? Do you believe in signature scents? Let me know. Add a comment below. But I'm talking mostly about men's and unisex offerings today in this video. Scents that work across situations and actually function as real life signatures. So a signature scent is not your favorite perfume of this month. It is the fragrance that becomes part of your identity over time because you keep wearing it over and over and over again. And so people recognize it and people associate it with you. Just like your style, your signature style, they know what you look like when you're going to see them. And of course, also the same thing with the fragrance. People are going to know what kind of fragrance you're going to be wearing because it's identifying with you. And signature scents are fragrances that you wear relentlessly over and over and over again. If you've worn a fragrance, let's say for over 30 times and you keep wearing it on a day-to-day basis, I, at this time, say this has now become a signature scent because people are starting to get, associate it with you and you identifying with it. And so it has now become a signature scent that you have been wearing over and over again. Signature scents are also pretty versatile. They should work during the day when you're at the office or when you're not working, you're just hanging out or, out and about, doing shopping and visiting, or they work at night for dinners and, formal gatherings and situations like that, or on weekends. So they have to be pretty versatile, but still, again, they're going to be associated with you. You wear it relentlessly over and over again. So it has to match your style. And it's something that you get recognized with over and over again because you're constantly wearing the signature scent. So today I've got 21 fragrances that I would consider signature scents, and I'm going to categorize them in different groups and tell you about the different fragrances. Remember, I said these are mostly unisex. Well, actually, they're mostly men's and some unisex offerings. So if you're a man, this is going to be a great video for you. If you're a lady, watch this video because there are some unisex offerings as well. Just a little bit more about signature scent. There's an emotional attachment with you and this fragrance that you're wearing constantly that makes it your signature scent. And for some strange reason, if this fragrance got discontinued, you would be annoyed and you would be disappointed. You would be upset because your favorite fragrance that you've worn for years because, you're identified with it, people recognize you with it, has now gotten discontinued and you just ran out of your bottle. And you're going to have to find a new fragrance and you're somehow going to train yourself to, find another signature scent. But a little bit about me as well. I am not the biggest fan of signature scents, but I have now a signature scent that I wear all the time. Well, not all the time, quite frequently, and so people recognize me with it as well. But the only reason I'm doing this video is because you guys have been asking me to do a video on signature fragrances, so I'm talking about it here today in this video. But recently, I've been wearing quite a bit of Juicebox's 54. It's the fragrance that a lot of people identify me with, and they recognize the fact that I am a patchouli lover. This has patchouli. I'm the type of person that does wear, stronger fragrances during the warmer months because this does have a lot of potency. But what I like about it, it is the kind of fragrance that is going to get me recognized with a smell because it does have that patchouli. It does have that creamy, milky, chocolatey effect that's happening in here. And it's just the kind of fragrance that I like to wear. And if it's just one fragrance I would have, this is the fragrance that I would turn into a signature scent. But I should also say, you don't have to have just one signature scent. You can have multiple. Let's say you might have one that is your daytime signature. Let's say you have one that is your nighttime signature. Or maybe you have a winter signature and a summer signature. So you can have multiple signature, but just think of the same things I said. People identify you with it, people associate you with it, and so on and so on. So let's get started with this list. We are starting off with the first fragrance. And the first fragrance is in the category called Modern and Iconic Fragrances. This is a men's and unisex list. And the first category is all men's fragrances. And when I say modern and iconic, these are easier fragrances to live with. They're not so super daring. They're kind of more grab and go fragrances. But I've somehow ended up with adding the more intense versions of fragrances here. But the first fragrance, going to the House of Chanel, it's Bleu de Chanel in the Parfum concentration. And this is a higher concentration take on the original Bleu de Chanel, which is mostly a freshie, but they've basically taken the original DNA of that fresh, woody, citrusy, aromatic fragrance into a more concentrated direction. So it's pretty versatile, but it is more intense. It can come off stronger, but I feel like it's the kind of fragrance, the DNA of this fragrance is fresh mostly. Yes, there's some ambery touches and stronger woods in the base, but still, it's mostly fresh. You can wear it all year round and make it your signature fragrance. I like a little bit more daring offerings myself. As I said, 54 is something I've been wearing quite a bit of, which has somehow become my signature scent. But if you like that kind of blue series of fragrances from designers, I think this makes for a great scent. And in fact, I'm smelling the Parfum edition once again today. I do like the Parfum quite a bit. It's not as expensive as the L'Exclusive, and it doesn't have the resins that the new one does. And I think the new one also I find a little bit clashes with the resins. That whole Bleu de Chanel DNA with the resins and ambery leather touches, I think it's a bit not my favorite. So if you're liking the idea of a blue take on a signature scent, something that's a bit more fresh but still has depth, then I think Bleu de Chanel in the Parfum concentration should do just fine. And then also Dior's Sauvage Elixir, I would also say is somewhat similar, but this is more of the Sauvage DNA here with that kind of ambroxan touch that's been converted to something a bit more resinous and ambery, but also a slight bit leathery. And still here, in comparison to the Chanel, the aromatics are really much stronger. So I feel like the characteristic of this fragrance is more fougere-like, and it has a fougere character in comparison to the Bleu de Chanel Parfum, which is somewhat more of a citrus, woody, amber experience. Sure, there is the amber here as well, but I'm picking up a lot of that kind of ambroxany amber effect happening here quite a bit in the base, and starts off very aromatic and spicy and herbal when you first spray it. Super sexy fragrance, I think. I think the Elixir from Sauvage has become my favorite, although I do appreciate the original EDT as well, which is actually a lot more versatile, but still also a lot fresher. And I think it might not perform as great when you're wearing it in the wintertime, because it is definitely an eau de toilette, whereas this Elixir is a higher concentrated fragrance. So that is Dior Sauvage Elixir. Definitely fitting of this category. And up next, we've got Creed's Aventus, another kind of similar ballpark of fragrances, but I think the styling of the fragrance is a bit different. This is fruity and a cheaper style, mossy, woody, and earthy as well, and a very popular offering from a niche house. There's been a lot of fragrances created that were inspired by Aventus, and a lot of guys seem to like this fragrance, and it does smell great. It's very invigorating, but fruity. It's woody, it's spicy, and citrusy, but very fresh. Slight smokiness runs throughout it as well, and it's the kind of fragrance you can wear day in and day out. It makes a perfect signature fragrance, I think. Can be classified as the dumb reach fragrance as well. I think this category kind of goes in that direction a little bit, but if you like something a bit fruitier, zesty, I think comes to mind with this one as well. Definitely one for you to try. This is Creed's Aventus. And then this fragrance has been long-standing. It's been around for so long. This is Acqua di Giò, but in the Parfum concentration. The original is so light, I would avoid it unless you want extreme lightness with your fragrance. If you want some oomph, go with the Parfum here. Again, I've mentioned I prefer the Profumo much more than the Parfum, but this is pretty decent. The marine touches in this version compared to the Profumo is a bit more amped up. This comes off a bit more marine, but it's basically taking that kind of fruity marine fragrance DNA of the original into a more intense direction. I think they've amped it up with some earthy notes, and there might even be some smoky notes in here like there was in the Profumo. They made the Profumo much darker, and this is dark, but I think the marine notes is also amplified in here, where it's coming off very marine with that freshness. But still, much better to wear this in comparison to the original Eau de Toilette, which has become so watery and thin right now that you want some more depth with the fragrance. But it's the kind of fragrance that totally falls into this category of modern, iconic, easy to live with, easy to wear kind of fragrances. And the last fragrance in this category I'm going to go with is Bvlgari Tygar. Very hyped fragrance, long-standing luxury offering. Totally different, but it fits in this category because it's one of those very easy to wear freshies that goes kind of zingy, zesty, spicy with a lot of grapefruit. It's almost like there's ginger here, and even though they don't claim it, I believe there is ginger here, so giving it that spice. There's amber and woods in the base as well. So it's a citrus with depth like amber and woods and some spices coming in. It's super sexy on skin, and the amber acts a bit like ambroxan. It has Jacques Cavalier's signature touch here that he's also created the couple of fragrances that are similar to this for Louis Vuitton, but I think this one has so much hype. I don't know if it's the name, I don't know if it's because of how it wears on guys, but again, I find it to be super sexy, easy to wear, and a great fragrance to make your signature scent. So this is Bvlgari Tygar in the original, not the new extract that just launched recently. That's the original, and I think it's the best. And if you don't want to go with that, you can also go with something like Sospiro's Vibrato or Kajal's number 3, which are kind of similar. So let's skip over to some more classic offerings now to make your signature scent. And I'm going to throw this one here. I love this fragrance. It's been a favorite of mine. This is Dior's Eau Sauvage, not the Parfum version. We've already talked about Sauvage. This is Eau Sauvage from the 60s, and a true citrus aromatic classic for the guys, and taking aromatic notes with the invigorating citruses and adding some depth with grassy woods in the base as well. It's an iconic scent. It's a fragrance that you can wear day in and day out. Sure, it's going to be lighter. A lot of these fragrances are definitely much lighter in this category, but I think you can make Dior Eau Sauvage your summer signature, you know, and because it is much fresher, much lighter, and so this is the kind of fragrance you would wear in the summertime in your summer signature rotation. But it's super fresh, very invigorating, classic smell, but I think it doesn't smell super tired, but perhaps some younger noses might think that. But I think it could make a great signature scent. What are your thoughts on Dior Eau Sauvage? So this is also a pretty awesome classic offering from the house of Guerlain. This is Habit Rouge in the Eau de Toilette concentration. Once again, fresh, but this in comparison to Eau Sauvage, this one has vanillic notes, so there's more depth here. So it is a bit stronger with the kind of notes they use. And I would say it might have a little bit more lingering power in comparison to something like Eau Sauvage. But this is Guerlain's answer to the feminine fragrance Shalimar. This is a male take on it. It does have citruses. It does have a little bit of rose. It does have woods and vanillic notes as well. And the combination is super awesome. Long-standing fragrance, once again. Came out around the same time as Eau Sauvage, and they keep cranking out flankers for it, like the Parfum edition that just came out, which I find to be super awesome. They've taken the DNA into a bit more of an earthy gourmand direction that's super, super sexy. But I think the original is something you can wear day in and day out. I think it's a great Eau de Toilette concentration men's classic offering with warmer notes. But let's move on to the Chanel house once again. We've got Pour Monsieur from Chanel, the original, not the concentrate. The original does come off classic. It is one of those men's Chypre style citruses. And if you don't know what Chypre is, it stands for the island of the island of citrus, the island of Chypre. And I'm sorry, yeah, the island of Cyprus is what I'm going to say, but it's Chypre in French. And there's a whole category of fragrances called Chypres. And it usually, this is a citrus Chypre. Usually it combined oak moss with labdanum and bergamot. But I don't think this one has much of an ambery presence. It's more citruses with mossy base notes and woods and maybe some aromatics thrown in as well. It's a bit old school. It is reminding me a little bit of Eau Sauvage, but super classic and awesome fragrance. Wears great. It's very invigorating. And once again, since it is citrus, use this as your signature scent for, you know, summer wear. Between the two, which do you prefer, Eau Sauvage or Chanel Pour Monsieur? Let me know. I'm more of an Eau Sauvage guy, but I do appreciate the Pour Monsieur from Chanel. But this next one is a fragrance from the house of Hermès. This is Terre de Hermès in the Parfum concentration. So I wanted to add one Parfum here, but it's not a Parfum that's going to choke you much. So you can wear this all year round. It's just a higher concentration of the original in eau de toilette. Just denser, thicker, concentrated oil, which creates a stronger fragrance. And it's basically the citruses, the sweet citruses of the orange. There's woods, minerally notes, and vetiver all rolled into one. It's a really, really awesome signature here and a great signature scent, I think. And you can make this your everyday fragrance all year round into the evening. So it's a bit woody, it's a bit fresh, but here we have a much more dense take on that fresh woody fragrance of the original, but with a, you know, depth, woody depth, I think. And a slight bit ambery, I think, in the base as well. And I think there's grapefruit in addition to the orange note in this as well. So it's a bit sweet, citrusy, but also a bit zesty too. I think Jean-Claude Elena has created a masterpiece with the Terre de Hermes fragrance series. And I'm going to go back to the 70s for a classic, a bit more of a powerhouse. This is Givenchy Gentleman from 1975. One of the best fragrances ever created, I think. One of the sexiest fragrances, and also a bit animalic. So it is a bit old school, but there's nothing wrong with wearing a fragrance like this. You'd smell great. It has great lingering power because the patchouli and mossy type notes are going to linger on the body longer than, let's say, something like a citrus with the Dior and the Chanel I just spoke about. But this has depth. It has earthy notes, slight sweetness in there. And again, there's a little bit of a musky animalic funk, but it's super sexy and very, very iconic, I think. And the bottle is so awesome. Really love this bottle. This fragrance is one of my favorite fragrances of all time, and something you can make a signature scent with the usage of that. All right, so we're speaking about patchouli already with Givenchy's Gentleman from 1975, but I spoke about this one earlier. We're heading over to like more of a niche statement kind of a category of fragrances. And as I said, I made 54 somewhat of a signature scent for me because I kept wearing it a lot. And I rotate through a lot of fragrances, but I wear a lot. So I spray a lot. And as I was saying, I've worn around 8 bottles of 54 since its launch in 2024 August. So I received my bottle in July of 2024. So I've been wearing it since then. But again, I've made it a signature scent accidentally because I wear it so much. And so people identify me with the smell. People recognize me. And I am addicted to the smell. I really, really identify with it. I also worked on the fragrance, so I helped create this fragrance. But it's just something that you can do with this fragrance as well. And if you are the type that wears fresher fragrances as your signature scent, you can make this your going out fragrance because it is deeper, darker, has more depth, and it has more longevity. The concentration is also much more potent than some of the other fragrances I spoke about. It has patchouli, it has vanilla, there's coconut, or actually there's pina colada, which has coconutty fruity touches, and there's chocolate, cinnamon, there's tobacco, there's sandalwood. So it has a very creamy, smooth, chocolate milky dry down and makes for a really, really awesome signature scent. So that is Juicebox's 54. Up next, we've got Frederic Malle's Portrait of a Lady. This is a fragrance featuring rose, and this is also a major statement fragrance. It's pretty loud and intense. It also features patchouli with rose. There's incense, there's warm spices, there's raspberry. You've got to be confident to wear something like this and convert it to your signature scent, but it's totally doable. I wore so much of this for a long time, and it's a fragrance that I identify with quite a bit because it makes me feel great when I wear it because I love the way it smells, the spices and the fruits and the rose and the patchouli and the incense all rolled into one. So awesome. Really, really awesome scent. And again, it's a loud fragrance. It's super intense. It's got that kind of a presence like something like Angel does or 54 does. So if you don't like fragrances like that, maybe this category might not be it for you. But if you do, then definitely check out the fragrances in this category because these are definitely showstoppers, I think. And then next, this one, I think it's definitely a statement, a fragrance for sure. It's been such a popular offering from the house. It's duped quite a bit, cloned quite a bit, influenced and inspired by quite a bit. And once again, it's an addicting smell. People are addicted to it, and I'm also addicted to the way it smells. Didn't start out that way, though, I should say, because I didn't care for it at once. But there's something about the creation of this fragrance that I think makes people addicted to it. Sure, there's probably people that get bored of it and tired of it and they don't like the ambroxan ambergris combo that's in here. But once you get addicted to that, you keep wanting more. And it's the kind of fragrance that also you can wear day in and day out, evenings, daytime, also, summer and winter. You can do that as well. I mean, you can get the Parfum edition or the extract edition for winter wear and the original in EDP for summer wear, because it's this kind of fragrance you can do that with. But if you're concerned about being too identified and blending in with a lot of other people, maybe you stay away from this one, because this is very, very popular. But if you like to be recognized, people know this smell. They will say, oh, you're wearing Baccarat Rouge, then definitely something you can wear. Now, if you want to go into something a bit darker, in the darker smoky amber resin direction, perhaps you could do that with the Interlude Man. Interlude Man is dark and smoky, and also it has that unique contrast in there. The oregano totally stands out and gives you a moment of pause and say, what the heck is that note? Yeah, oregano is not only for pizza or Italian food, or maybe Greek food, I should say also, because Greek cuisine features oregano, but it's also for fragrances, and it's so great to smell that contrast in this. So it's an Amouage fragrance. It's Middle Eastern style. It's an amber. It's a dark smoky amber. It's resinous and maybe a bit leathery as well. But I think the magic happens when the oregano comes in. I just love the oregano in this. And I prefer my amber fragrances to be brighter, a bit more vanillic. This is super dark and smoky. But again, that oregano brightens the fragrance up and makes it so cool. So you can make that as your darker, if you're like, into darker fragrances, and make something like that your signature scent. And then the last fragrance in this category, I would say something like Parfums de Malle Layton. This is a bit more closer to appreciating fragrances like the ones in the first category, but this is something with a lot more depth and a vanillic woodiness, I should say. And this has been quite popular. A lot of guys tend to like this, and I think ladies like this too. It's not necessarily super masculine. It's vanillic and spicy, very woody, and it's something you can wear day in and day out, all year round, I think. Maybe go easy on the trigger when you're wearing this in the summertime, but I think this is a fragrance you can wear all year round, smelling great. It's also super strong, intense, and long-lasting, but you've got that spicy cardamom, you've got, woods and ambery notes in the base, vanillic sweetness, contrasted. It's really, really a great scent. I'd forgotten about it, but I do enjoy the DNA. It's also something that I think is very influential. There's been a lot of inspired fragrances. It's influenced a lot of other brands to, emulate it and things like that. So that's the last fragrance in the niche statement category of fragrances. And I've got one more category plus a bonus that I'm going to talk to you about. And this last category is more about the insider fragrances. Maybe you're more of a niche head and you like fragrances that not a lot of your friends know about. Somebody that knows fragrances would wear these, and somebody that doesn't know fragrances would not wear these, kind of a thing. So let me recommend a few. This is Nicolai's New York Intense. Kind of more going to the old school category. The original New York launched in the 80s, in the late 80s. The New York Intense, I believe, launched in the early 2010s. And it's, to me, kind of like Bois de Portugal, if you know that fragrance from Creed. I think this is a little bit better. It's a chypre leather style, old school, like a bit barbershoppy, but it's, like I said, it's more of a chypre style. To me, it smells a bit like Pour Monsieur with more depth, like a intense depth, and not focusing on the citruses like the Pour Monsieur is focusing on. This is maybe focusing on deeper notes, maybe spices, maybe slight ambery touches, and I think the mossy notes have been amplified as well. I really love that fragrance. It does remind me of Bois de Portugal, but again, this is Nicolai's take on something like that. So it's New York Intense. This original, as I said, the original came out around the late 80s. Isn't that when Bois de Portugal came out as well? I can't remember now. But let's move on to Ormonde Jayne's Ormonde Man. Ormonde Man is also a great spicy fragrance from the house of Ormonde Jayne. Wood, spices, aromatics, very classy, very gentlemanly, very much a fragrance that's a signature scent worthy offering from the house. There are some molecular musky notes in the background as well, but for me, it's musks, woods, and spices. That's what's running the show. And aromatics, I should say, as well. But very classy, gentlemanly, and of course, something that is perfect for a signature scent to wear day in and day out. And with the Ormonde Jayne fragrances, the way they're created, there is not a lot of thickness. Like, I mean, there's depth with some of their fragrances, but they're not heavy. They don't weigh you down. So like Tiziana Terenzi fragrances and Ormonde Jayne fragrances are night and day with the way they wear. Terenzi fragrances are super dense and thick. Ormonde Jayne, they're like, you can see through them kind of, they're not thick. All right, next fragrance, we're talking about a fragrance from the house of Histoires de Parfum. It's 1740. Yeah, if you've noticed, I'm recommending fragrances that I think that are a bit less spoken about on the channel, just so you guys get an idea of some of the fragrances that I used to speak about, like 1740. 1740 is my second Histoires de Parfum fragrance purchase. The first one was called Moulin Rouge, which was a powdery, lipsticky makeup smell. And this is the second one, which is a leathery, earthy patchouli Immortelle balm. It's super sexy, really classy, gentlemanly, a little bit daring, and has some depth. So this is something you can wear day in and day out, but you can totally stand out with the way you smell. And people will not say, okay, you smell like Sauvage. You smell like Bleu de Chanel, kind of a thing, you know? This is got more depth. It's a bit more daring, you know, the leather, the earthy notes, the patchouli, the Immortelle, which is kind of almost like sweet and syrupy, but also spicy. It's a sexy fragrance, I think. 1740 by Histoires de Parfum. Next, we're going to the house of Montale with Black Oud. If you want something a bit rosier, but with the idea of an oud accord in there. But don't forget, there's also a little bit of saffron and a lot of patchouli in this too, to give it that earthy depth that I really like in oud and rose combo fragrances. For me, rose and oud are a match made in heaven. I think there's more fragrances with oud and rose versus rose and patchouli. But here we have the best of both worlds. We've got the oud accord, we've got the rose, which is a little bit jammy, but I feel like it's quite dry. And you've got that earthiness of the patchouli, and throw in some saffron and maybe some spices, and also a little bit of, some amber in the base. You've got a really awesome offering. This one does lean a slight bit feminine because of the rose, but it's super masculine, I think, because everything else is really on the masculine side, and it smells great, really long lasting. One of the best oud rose combo fragrances, and it's from Montale. It's Black Oud. And we're gonna end the list with this fragrance until my bonus fragrance. This is Tower Perfume's L'air du Désert Marocain. So once again, it's an amber fragrance, quite dry, but there's some brightness thrown in, and it's also an amber that doesn't smell like any other amber fragrances out there, and that's what makes it so unique. It's dry, dusty, powdery. It's called L'air du Désert Marocain, the air of the Moroccan desert. So there's some spices like coriander. This is also ambergris amber, not necessarily full-on resinous amber, but there's also some petitgrain, so it gives it that green, bitter, citrusy edge to the fragrance. So altogether, it's such an awesome, unique offering from the house. One of the best amber fragrances out there. One of the best fragrances from an indie niche house, and something that you can wear day in and day out, and somebody will say, once again, not say like, oh, you smell like Dior Sauvage or something. So it's an awesome offering, and it's a great fragrance to make your signature scent and totally stand out wearing this most unique dry amber fragrance. So that's the last category. I'm going to throw in one bonus offering here. We're going to go to the house of Cartier. It's Pasha de Cartier Parfum. So why am I throwing this one in? It's kind of like best of both worlds. You've got the modern side, because it's a recent flanker of a classic fragrance from the early 90s. So when you smell this and wear it, and smell it after you're wearing it, you're going to get the touches of the old school fragrance, because it is a bit old school. The original Pasha came out in 1991 or 1990. So there's some touches of that in here. But there's the ambercinide in here. There's boozy notes in here, which completely modernizes it. So you have a bit of a best of both worlds, because I love classic fragrances and I also love modern fragrances. I don't turn my nose up to a lot of fragrances unless they don't smell great, obviously, or they're extremely marine or extremely animalic or extremely weird. I like this because it reminds me of the classics, and also wears very modern. And again, it got a little bit of the original's kind of patchouli, aromatic, piney kind of notes, and it's modernized with a major dosage of boozy notes in here, like liqueur note, and then there's like ambery, kind of ambercinide, ambroxany kind of notes in the base to give you a little bit of an amber woody experience. It's so great for a fragrance. Cartier makes some great fragrances, and Pasha de Cartier Parfum, definitely one of the best from the house. I love the original too, don't get me wrong. For me, there's a bunch of flankers here. I don't care for the sport, I don't care for the black, I don't care for the noir. I love the original and I love the Parfum. The other ones are not that good to me. But that's all I have for you guys for signature scents. Let me know if you have a favorite signature scent. Let me know if that's all you wear. Do you have one fragrance that you consider your signature scent? Or do you have a ton that you rotate through? You still consider them signature scents? Let me know. Add a comment below. What do you think about the fragrances I recommended today? Do you think they are signature scent worthy? Let us know. Add a comment below. Thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Click the subscribe button. And also click that bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos. And give a thumbs up for this video. That really helps get the video up further to other viewers on YouTube. And last but not least, if you can, please subscribe to my new YouTube Shorts channel. It is linked in the info box. Just click on it and it'll take you there, and click subscribe to the Perfume Guy Shorts. New Shorts content coming soon over there. Thank you guys. See you later. Bye-bye.